Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala is still at the failed cash-in-transit heist crime scene in Limpopo and joins us live. Nqobile, it must be an incredible scene for us. Obviously, 90 minutes worth of back and forth between the police and those criminals. Unpack the scene for us, will you?
Well, Hugo, I'm going to step out so you can see more. But basically, what we have seen now is that we've seen some of the forensics taking out some of the bodies that we counted for. This is, of course, at the back of the 3 that we have seen, which basically says that there are about 9 more bodies that are yet to be whirled out of this area. We have seen multidisciplinary work, which has come from the SAPS, the Hawks. We have seen some of the explosives team also going inside. We were told earlier on, as well as from the head of Hawks, that there were some explosives that were found in the area. So it was then a team of the explosives team going inside to also check for that. So we saw that taking place during the day. Now we're seeing again the forensics team taking out the bodies. We've seen IPID also actively monitoring the scene. You will remember, because this was a fight between the 2, and of course we heard from the National Commissioner that this was a response from the police because they started shooting at the police first, and of course IPID will have to look closely in terms of what was happening, and so that is their role here. You will remember that now the bodies that have been taken from here, we are told that they're going to Chilidzini Hospital, and this is where the families will begin to identify some of their loved ones. Earlier on, we saw some of the families coming in explaining things like they received phone calls, being told that some of their loved ones could have been part of the 18 that was shot here. We also heard from some of the family members identifying that some of the people that were shot here were the house owner, the wife, as well as the person that was the 2 people that were working helping in the house, one mainly doing gardening and the other doing some housework. So it's been quite a long time for some of these teams that are working here. Most of them are exhausted. They've been standing the whole day from yesterday. We understand that they arrived on the scene just after 3 when this incident had taken place, and of course that shootout taking place from 1 o'clock, and then they arrived here and they've been combing the scene from that time. So 24 hours, over 24 hours later, they're still standing, still working, and still trying to make sure that everything is taken care of. We understand from the Hawks that they said it's very important to be thorough with the scene because a lot happened here. We've seen them also looking into the neighbors, where the house on your right-hand side was also being monitored, and we saw them also looking on the left-hand side. Of course, you'll remember that this is a shock for this community. They have explained, or rather described, this area as a quiet area, and a lot of people here work very hard to ensure that they have what they have. So it was very shocking for a lot of people to see what took place here. So a lot of them coming out to see the scene as well and to sort of monitor. We understand that we will be receiving some updates from the Hawks as well once all of this is done. They have estimated that potentially the scene will still be combed at least until about 10 p.m. in the afternoon. Very long hours for the team that's working here, but very difficult as well for everyone to accept, especially for those families that are still wondering if their loved ones were part of the scene. But of course, when we heard from the National Commissioner as well as the Hawks head, is that the investigations into what was taking place here had been for a while. In fact, earlier this year, that's when they started investigating this, and also saying that this is a syndicate that has been working from various provinces. We understand that it also links Gauteng as part of the province that they were operating in, as well as in Mpumalanga. But we were told that the Hawks were not only working from this province, but they were also working with the Hawks in Mpumalanga to make sure that they work and understand what was taking place here.
Nqobile, you've described that 18 individuals were killed, and also mentioned that a gardener, wife of the owner of the house. Are these individuals, what do you call them, bystanders that were caught in the crossfire, or were they part of this syndicate?
Well, it would be interesting to find that out, and of course that's yet to be established because we do understand that the investigations are still ongoing. But what we have heard from the people on the ground describing the woman that has lived here, who is the wife, is that she's a businesswoman, one that was explained as just bubbly, as a very kind person. So most of them not sure if she would be part of the syndicate. But of course the police will have to explain more as we find out more what was really taking place.
Now, obviously, a number of questions are coming to mind as you are giving us that report. One of those questions is around the neighbours' houses. Have those houses been cordoned off? Have the residents been asked to move? What is that position at the moment?
Well, we have two neighbours' houses that we have seen, specifically having seen the police interact completely with them, one opposite to the house and one that is right next to the house. And again, I'm going to step out so Max can show you more. So one of the neighbouring house, which we understand has a grey, looks like a grey house on the right-hand side, is that most of what they have been working on has been on the gate. So we have seen them walk in and around the house, but we have not seen them going inside. But from those neighbours, we have seen the family coming in and out, and of course driving out and just continuing with their lives. And of course we have seen a bit of interaction between them and the police, very limited. So we're not sure as to whether or not there has been any questions. But what we have noted as well is that the gate has remained open from the time we have come in, and the police have also put some of the numbers on the floor, which means there is some sort of evidence that is on the gate. But rather on the opposite as well, we've seen the police using that house as a place where they were able to get lunch as well. And that house, we had noted 2 of the bullet holes which were on their balcony, on their glass door. So we would imagine that the police are, of course, in talks with both the owners on the basis that we have seen them interact with the other neighbor, and that they were welcome, of course, to use the garage as a place where they can have lunch and where they can also meet, and some of their cars are parked there.
And finally, before we let you go, we know you've been out there in Makhado the entire day. Are you expecting to be there again tomorrow? What will that crime scene look like? Will the police, forensics still be there? Are they likely to finish their work by the end of the day tomorrow?
Well, what they have told us is that this is still going to take some time. They have estimated that by 10 o'clock this afternoon they will be done. This is why, of course, we are seeing that there's at least 9 more bodies that they still need to be able to take out. So it will be interesting to see how fast they can now work, because you'll remember that from this morning we only saw them only taking out 2 bodies, and those bodies were from the outside, which we understand that those were some of the people that were on the outside in the yard. But because there are so many departments that are working on this case, this means that one department notes one place and another department comes, and so it continues. So it slows down the process of finishing the scene. But what we do understand is that by 10 o'clock they should be done, which means by the next day it should be cleared. And of course it becomes very difficult to find any of the neighbors here to speak, because mainly because they're still traumatized, but also because some of them would say that they're scared. They do not want to be seen on camera commenting on such, which means by tomorrow, if they're done, it will be quite empty in this area. But we are still waiting to hear how far these teams will go in terms of ensuring that they comb the entire scene as what they have told us.
Nqobile Madlala, appreciate the update this evening coming to us from Makhado, giving us a sense of what's transpired, certainly with the police and the forensics exploring that crime scene.